Good evening and welcome to Bookshop Bonanza. I'm Beth Morrey and I'm the author of Saving Missy. I don't know why I'm whispering. This isn't a library and it's only me here. Hi, I am Beth Morrey and I am the author of Saving Missy, which is a story about an elderly woman who finds salvation through the kindness of strangers and adopting a dog. But before I was an author, I was a TV producer. And the job I used to have was coming up with ideas for TV programmes. I've worked on all sorts of shows, some of which you've heard of probably, like The Secret Life of 4-Year-Olds and 100-Year-Old Drivers and some Sex and Suspicious Parents, sorry about that. And there's awful lot of ideas I've worked on that you haven't heard of at all. But when the Stay at Home Festival asked for some more unusual ideas for sessions, I came up with this. Last month, Stig Abel wrote an article in the Times about an American tourist who accidentally got shut in a bookshop for the night and tweeted out his distress. What a disaster, right? Wrong. Stig described it as a fantasy, which is completely correct and got me thinking. Now we're making that fantasy a reality. Welcome to Bookshop Bonanza. This is a book club with a difference. It's a very exclusive book club. It's basically a lock-in. While Harrods opens its doors just for Madonna so she can shop without being bothered by fans, Chrissy of Book Bar has very kindly opened the doors just for me so that I can have a solo browse like a celebrity. Now, what she doesn't know is it was a mistake to let me in here on my own because I'm a hustling debut author with my own book to sell. I'm going to leave a very special display for her future customers to find. But more of that later, because I am not the only lucky writer with a shop to myself tonight. Now, in a change to the advertised schedule, you were supposed to see Piers tour day in Barter Books in Alnwick. Hello, Barter Books, and thank you. But unfortunately, Piers got felled by the massive train delays that happened. So he hired a car and tried to drive to Alnwick, but unfortunately, bad weather and traffic stopped him. So Piers is unable to make it tonight. But like a hero, the children's author Marianne Levy has stepped in at the last minute. Hello, Marianne. Please tell us about yourself.
Hello, I am Marianne Levy. I am a children's author. I have written 5 books for children and young people. Before I was a children's author, I used to be an actor. So I am an incredible show-off. And so my books are basically all about showing off. They're really fun, they're really silly, and they are for young people. I've written the Ellie Mae books. Ellie Mae is an incredibly famous film star. There she is on the cover. And then for slightly older, for teens and tweens, I've written these books about a girl who accidentally goes viral on YouTube and becomes a pop star. So that's me. Those are my books. And I'm in Pickle Pepper in Crouch End.
Hello, Marianne. And thank you so much for stepping in at the last moment, like a total show off.
Yes.
And then in picturesque Chipping Norton, we have debut cookery writer Kathy Slack, who has swanned into our local bookshop for a browse. Hello, Kathy, please introduce yourself.
Hi, Beth. Hi, Marianne. Thank you so much for this opportunity to get locked in. I feel like a kid in a sweet shop. It's heaven. I'm here in Jaffa and Neal in Chipping Norton, which is near where I live in the Cotswolds. I'm a food writer, debut food writer. This is my first cookbook, which is out in a month's time. It's called From the Veg Patch. And it's all about what I write about generally, which is seasonal, homegrown fruit and veg. And if it's not grown by me, then it's grown locally or by local producers. And all of my recipes are inspired by the amazing landscape that we have in the Cotswolds.
Can you bring that further to the camera so we can see that beautiful cover? Because I just love that. I would eat all of that.
Well, I hope the selection of books tonight is going to make you want to come out into the countryside and cook with lots of the ingredients that we have out here.
I already do. Now, you should just never let authors like us loose in a bookshop, because we will be completely uncontrollable. We're all here tonight to secretly curate our own displays of our books, which is something every author longs to do. But first, since we're here, we may as well have a little look around. So, Marianne, could you now introduce us to the bookshop where you are?
Oh, brilliant. What a delight. I am in Pickled Pepper Books in Crouch End in North London. And the brilliant thing about Pickled Pepper is it is a bookshop only for children. I'll see if I can swing the camera. This is where I drop somebody else's phone. Can you see this?
I like those fairy lights.
Fairy lights. I've got all this gorgeousness. And I would have technical support there. I would hugely encourage you to bring your children in, because they do not just books, but they do loads of author events. They do storytelling. They do all sorts of sort of messy workshops. They've got massive programs of events. They will entertain your children through the holidays. You can go for a coffee around the corner, guilt-free, knowing they will be inhaling the most brilliant stories and meeting amazing authors. They've even got a little theatre upstairs that's going to start running again soon. Go to their website, because not only can you find out about all their brilliant events, you can order signed books. They not just deliver in the UK, they deliver anywhere in the world. So I would warmly encourage you to come to Pickled Pepper in Crouch End. Please. It is gorgeous in here, and I'm so lucky to have broken in this evening and rearranged all their books.
Well, that was a beautiful sell. And Kathy, can you top that? Where are you? Tell us.
I am in Jaffa Neal in Chipping Norton, which is, as you can see, just beautiful. It's been here for almost 20 years, and it was founded by Polly and Patrick Jaffa Neal, who are a couple who met in a bookshop, and that's how, isn't it romantic?
That's like a rom-com.
And then they set up their own bookshop together. So they have books in their blood, and it really shows. This is the place where you come. It's kind of the cultural hub of Chipping Norton and the surrounding West Oxfordshire, Gloucestershire countryside, because this is where you come, particularly outside of lockdown, when they have an amazing cafe space, and you can sit around and read books and get amazing recommendations, and there isn't a book in here they haven't read, so there's always someone to go, oh well, if you liked that, you'll also want to be reading this as well. It's very dangerous bookshop, but wonderful.
Thank you very much. I can't wait to go there when I next come and visit you and eat your food. Well, I am lucky enough to be in Book Bar, which recently opened in Highbury. And the reason I love this place, as anyone who knows me knows, it combines two of my favourite things, books and bars. So yes, you can get the latest and greatest reads, but you can also enjoy a glass of wine. Chrissy did say I could have this. I haven't just nicked it. Or some coffee and cake, plus a lovely literary chat. Book Bars, or it's only just opened, but it's already got a virtual book group, which is really popular. And when things open up a bit more, Chrissy, the owner, wants to have all sorts of salons and events. And her aim is to bring back the personal and social element of book buying, which I think is a great idea. And I couldn't be happier that I live just around the corner. Tonight, I'm in the Bookseller, which is an exclusive space that hasn't opened yet. So I've got the sneak peek. And here you can see some of the books that are on display. Here they've got a lot of Brit Bennett and a lot of Hilary Mantel, which is excellent. And I've heard rumours, this space is going to be used for like intimate book groups. And I've heard rumours that one of the first book groups will be like a kind of erotic book club. Sex book.
You started that rumour, Beth.
No, but I want to go. I'm going to angle for an invite. So we've got the run of these lovely stores and we want to make the most of them. So I will be going on a little book hunt to display the stock. And I will be asking Marianne and Kathy to do the same. Later on, we'll be taking questions. So if you want to challenge us to find a book you love or shout about your own book, then let us know and we'll do our best. So this bit is basically supermarket sweep, but with books. Now, the challenge is that we can only use books that are in stock. What a wonderful challenge that is. So I'd like to start you off by challenging you to show me a book that you have read recently and loved. Now, do you want me to go first or would you like to go first? Okay, I'll start you off because I'm very excited about this. Now, this book is one that I bought at Book Bar quite recently. And I know I'm not being very original here by telling you this is wonderful. Like, I'm not introducing you to something that you've never heard of. Everyone's talking about it. And the reason they're talking about it is because it's that thing when people talk about an amazing book on Twitter and you go, oh, is it really that good? It is. It's absolutely wonderful. It's subtle, it's layered, it's funny. It's kind of got like a remains of the day feel to it in that it's all under the surface. And at times it's really devastating. It made me cry at 2 particular points. So that is the book that I've just finished. And it was a wonderful read. Anyone else?
Oh, give me a second.
Kathy, are you ready?
I could be. Oh, look, here's Marianne.
Marianne, what did you read recently and loved?
I have read Barbara Throws a Wobbler. Can you see it? It's by Nadia Shireen. Oh, I love this book so much. So, books for small children talking about emotions. God, it sounds heavy, right? Not in this book. My daughter inhaled this. I didn't even, she found it. I had it upstairs. I was going to give it to her and she went into my room. She found it. She went, Mummy, I've just read the most amazing book. Let me open it. So, who among us cannot identify with Barbara?
That's a picture of my youngest son right there. He's right there.
It is so funny and it is so touching and so charming. But on a slightly more serious note, it's a really good way for children to talk about, to understand their emotions, to get to grips with them, to know that anger and being grumpy is normal and good and healthy. And it's a great way to talk to children about this when they're not in the middle of a wobbler, so that the next time they throw a wobbler or you throw a wobbler, you've got the language to talk about it. And it's so funny. Oh, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Buy this book, people.
I'm going to make a note of that because we've got another book called something like My Big Shouting Day.
Yes, it's very like My Big Shouting Day.
Which I love, and I read to my son last night. I adore that book. Thank you. Yeah. Excellent choice. Kathy, a book you read and loved recently?
Mine's on a slightly different pace of things, and it's just over here. I'm just going to grab it.
I like variety.
Feel a bit like Annika Rice running around.
I love it. I love the format.
This is a book called Wilding that I read really recently, and it's by, I love that she's called this, she's called Isabella Tree, which is only she could have written this book. So she lives in the Knepp estate, which is down south way, Sussexy, Suffolky way, and they inherited this huge traditional farm and gradually let it go. And in totally letting it go, I mean, there were some trials and tribulations, not least with the neighbours, but in letting it go, they've created this wildlife landscape that is so diverse and so rich and so interesting, but also makes them more money as a farm and is more sustainable than the previous way of farming. So they have cows that are essentially wild and sheep that are they just do their thing and nobody feeds them. And it's fascinating. You wouldn't think it was possible. And it sounds like a geeky book, but it's incredibly engagingly written, and very atmospheric.
Did
Loved
she
it.
write a Guardian article? Because
Probably,
I remember reading an amazing article about a couple who'd rewilded a farm, and there's something about the language that makes it sound right, like you kind of instinctively get that what they did was right.
Yeah, exactly that. And it's really, and she doesn't shy away from the difficulties of what to do when you've got 4 years of an endemic weed that does nothing but ruin the look of everything in this beautiful patch of the countryside, and the troubles with the neighbours and the troubles with planning. And she doesn't shy, it's not idyllic, but it's also totally beautiful. Really loved it.
Fantastic, love it. Now, the next challenge, the next book that I want you to find is the book that you want to read next. And once again, I'll start you off so that you can make your choices. Earlier, I scoured the shelves and I found this, which is Love After Love by Ingrid Persord. And the reason I want to read this is I think it won the Costa Prize for the best first novel, which is always like a good marker. But also, I think the Book Bar's book club, I think it was the inaugural book that they chose, and apparently everyone loved it. So I figure that would be a really good one for me next. My choice.
Lovely.
Who's next?
I've got two. Is that allowed, or have I already broken the format? Okay, cool. I've got two. I want this one, Fashion Conscious, change the world with a change of clothes. And it's about how to apply good values to your fashion choices, how to mend stuff, how to tailor stuff, how to upcycle. And I think it's written for teens to kind of combat the kind of ASOS cheap throwaway fast fashion thing. But actually, I think probably we could all do with a bit of that. So I would love to read this.
That sounds great, and a really sophisticated, worthy topic.
Yeah,
like it's been done.
It's a good thick book. There's plenty in there. And then I would also like to read this because it sounds so silly and so much fun. Look at this. It's called The Adventures of Harry Stevenson, Guinea Pig Superstar by Ali Pye. How gorgeous is this? And he doesn't always behave like a guinea pig, even though he is a guinea pig. And I mean, the second you've got a book about a guinea pig,
a book about a guinea
being
pig,
a superstar, I mean, it could have been.
I don't know how you could argue with it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's 3 days of pleasure right there. So
yeah, lovely.
Those are my two.
Kathy, what's your next read going to be?
Well, seeing as Marianne had two, I also have two now. But that's partly because the first one that I'd already picked out, because I thought you might ask us this, was this one. But seeing as we've already talked about it, I know.
You'll love it, Kathy. You'll absolutely love it.
The other book that I've also bought recently, probably like the rest of the world, Clara and the Sun.
Yes.
You see, this is what happens when you come into Jaffa and Neil. I was planning on buying.
Kathy's glitched.
Oh,
I mean, it's a great image, but she has glitched.
I can see you.
Joanna, what should we do about the glitch?
Hello.
I believe it might just be you because I can hear her and see her loud and clear.
Yeah, I can hear her. Fine.
Oh, right. I think I just had a glitch. Yeah.
You just had a glitch. I was saying, I'd come into Jaffa and Neil to buy this, and I was chatting to Polly and Patrick, and they said, it's really interesting because it's sort of a bit along a theme, and it's a bit about butlers in a way, and sort of, have you read Remains of the Day? And I was like, well, do you know what? No, I haven't. So then I went and got Remains of the Day, and I'm halfway through that because I feel like they work as a pair, according to Polly and Patrick upstairs. So I'm doing as I'm told and reading that first, and then this will be my next one.
That is proper book selling, isn't it? Where they make you buy more books than you intended to buy.
Genius.
Doing as I'm told. Brilliant.
Yeah. So we're on to the third choice, which I'm setting you, which is an all-time favourite. And once again, I'll go first because I've chosen two as well. Now, my first choice, because I just happened to pass it, was Station 11. I'm such a sci-fi fiend, and I absolutely adored this. It's such a great premise. It's so well executed, and it's got the most beautiful uplifting, weird ending, which I just adored. So that is right up there for me. And that was going to be my number one, except that I think I'm going to choose.
Hang on, Beth, I've got questions for you about Station 11.
Yeah.
Can I talk to you about it? So I have a fear of apocalypses and pandemics. So I took Station 11 on holiday about 5 years ago, got 10 pages in. It's not a spoiler to tell people what happens in the first 10 pages.
No, it's the setup.
So 10 pages in, pretty much everyone in the world dies from flu. And I got 10 pages in and thought, I don't want this. I'm on holiday in Barcelona. This is not what I want. So I freaked out and basically did that thing. Do you remember in Friends when Joey puts the book in the freezer? I left it at the holiday place that we were staying. I didn't even bring it home with me. Now we've been through a pandemic. Should I go back to it? Now I'm maybe stronger, weaker, I don't know.
But the thing is, the pandemic starts it, but it's about the aftermath of the pandemic.
Okay.
It's also really grim. But it's sort of like when it is not quite. She picks it up when things are settling down again. And basically there's no civilized society, but at least it's quieting down.
Okay.
And it's incredibly, I found it really uplifting. The ending is very uplifting as well, but kind of weird. I like the weird. So, I mean, it's one of the all-time greats for me.
We'll talk further.
In the end, because I found on Chrissy's shelf, I just love C.J. Sansom. This is the Chard Lake series. And the reason I chose this rather than Station 11 is because there's so many of them. You've got lots in the series. And I mean, the thing that I love about this is it's Tudor bureaucracy. Like really, I mean, each one is like a murder mystery, but I don't even need the murder. I could just have him like doing his law stuff and visiting friends for dinner. That's what gets it. But I mean, also, I'm a mad keen Elizabeth I fan, and later books, he interacts with Elizabeth I, and that is just like such a frisson for me. So that is my all-time great. Next.
Love it. Is it me next?
Who wants to go next?
I'll go next. Look what I've just found.
Oh,
yes.
All-time great for me.
Yes.
Great choice.
I'm kind of assuming and hoping we all know about this book, but if not, this is the most beautiful book. When Hitler Stole the Pink Rabbit by Judith Kerr. And it's all about the process of becoming a refugee. It's set in, well, it starts in 1933. It's all about a little girl called Anna, who is rushed out of Germany very, very, very fast, has to choose one toy because there really is no time. And she's got a pink rabbit that she adores, but it's very, very old. And then got some new toy. And she thinks, well, I've not played with this new toy enough. So she leaves the pink rabbit. And, you know, as she kind of moves through Europe, she thinks back to the pink rabbit, where the titles come from. And you just think this is such a clever, touching book because it's written so perfectly from the child's perspective. And it speaks to the child in you as an adult when you read it. It's heartrending, it's beautiful. It's also fun, and it's all the good things. And I mean, and terrifying when you read it as an adult, of course, and you know what she's fleeing. There's a bit that still, I remember it.
On the train.
When you get on the wrong train, I think, and you think, oh my God, they're going back into Germany, and people haven't read it, but I won't spoil it. But this book, and of course, it's so resonant now, which is incredibly sad. I wish this book weren't so necessary, but it hugely is, and I would recommend it to everyone. It is
relevant, and also
astonishing writing.
It is wonderful. And I only recently, am I right in saying that there's a trilogy? So there's something Bombs and Aunt Dainty, and another one, and I only
Small Person Far Away.
That's it. So I only recently found out that it's a trilogy and read the other two books in it, which are also brilliant. But I couldn't agree more. What a wonderful book.
Wonderful book.
Kathy, top that.
I like that one because I've not read that, so I'm gonna I'm going to come to it, I think. My choice is not particularly adventurous, and I want to caveat it before I tell you about it, because I came to reading really late, and so as a child and a teenager, I was not bookish at all. Here's Bob. Hi, Bob.
Hello. Oh,
Bob,
this
is
is Bob. Not
Hello,
Bob from Beth's book, but Bob who is the Jaffe and Neil Bookshop dog. Hi, darling.
Wonderful.
Very nice of him to visit.
Hello, Bob.
Hello, gorgeous.
I love
Actually
him.
coming to say hi.
Oh my God, I love him.
He's a sweetie, isn't he? We digress, Bob. We're talking about, I'm about to talk about Brideshead Revisited.
Hard to ignore Bob, but do.
So my choice is Brideshead Revisited because I read it not that long ago. I mean, sort of, relative to when most people read this book. I read this book maybe 10, 15 years ago, first time. And I came to all books very late. And then I had this gush of reading all the classics very quickly and loving them and devouring them. And this one is and reading quite a lot of comfort books that are just very atmospheric and very beautiful and very evocative, and then reading them again going, I didn't know books could do this, and then moving on to Wuthering Heights or something. I mean, it was very classic, but this was the one that I have devoured several times, and every time I read it I go, God, I didn't see that little nuance, or I love that description of it's also very good at Oxford, and that's always close to my heart because I live so close to it. And this is a beautiful edition of it as well.
Gorgeous.
Such a lovely cover.
So beautiful. Lovely choices. I am fully on board with all of that. We'll do one last one, and it'll just be a quick one, time allowing. And this is a book you've never heard of that looks interesting. And I've gone for, where is the one? I've lost the book that I've never heard of. Where's it gone? Oh, here it is.
Shall I do mine whilst you find it, or have you found it?
I found it.
Okay,
now,
good.
I'm slightly embarrassed if everybody goes, oh, I've heard of that. I just happen to have not heard of it. But I think it looks really good. And it's Claire Loden, Left of the Bang, and it's a debut. And it's about a failing concert pianist, Tamsin Jarvis, who is still living with her mother, troubled by her father's infidelity, muddling along with her adoring school teacher boyfriend. Then Chris, soon to depart for service in Afghanistan, reappears in Tamsin's life and disrupts its already fragile equilibrium. And I just thought it looked really interesting. So, but I haven't heard of it, so there.
Nice choice. No, neither have I.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I have chosen this piece of book gorgeousness. Look how nice it is. Look how beautiful it is. And for those who can't read it, it says, slow down, bring calm to a busy world with 50 nature stories. And I think this is the book I need. I mean, I think not just want, although goodness knows I want it. It is beautiful. I think actually it will calm me down because I am crazy at the moment. Everything's opening up. The world and life is too much for me. And I think I need to go into the garden and look at a woodlouse and then read this.
Yeah, good choice. It's beautiful.
That's really interesting that you picked that one, because I've picked one that I think is along a similar theme.
Yeah.
Called Seed to Dust. And I'm a sucker for a good cover. So that drew me in, and seeds, which is my thing anyway. But then I opened it up and it says, it's a book by Mark Hamer, has designed and nurtured the same 12 acres of garden for decades. It's rarely visited. He's the only person who fully knows its secrets, but it's not his own. It says it's a life-enhancing book. Mark takes us month by month through his experiences, both of working in the garden and outside as the seasons change. And a thoughtful, peaceful and meditative prose, that's me in there then. About the joys of manual work, his path from solitary homelessness to family contentment, and the cycle of growth and decay that runs through both gardens and life. I mean, that's in the same way as you, Marianne. I went, oh, this seems very calm. And this, I think, is book equivalent of the Gardener's World theme tune for me. It's just
the book we all
instantly
need
calming.
right now. Yeah.
So that was mine.
That's beautiful. Well, I think that those have been some really good selections, and they've
You've done
showcased
very well.
the bookshop stock and our own particularly genius curation. But now, down to business. Let's face it, we all know that if you're an author and you're in a bookshop, the first thing you do is look out for your own book. Now, Kathy's book isn't out till next month, but you'll get used to this. Ideally, you want it in the window, or you want it on a massive pile in the central table, or you want it on a shelf facing outwards, or let's face it, you just want it in stock.
I want it blocking the door. I want people not to be able to get in because there's a table with my book on it.
I also like the big piles right next to the cashier's desk. You know, there's a lot of opportunity here, but there's none quite as good as this one. Because, you know, in the past, I have to admit that I have sneakily turned my book to face outwards on a shelf or moved it to a more prominent position on a table. I hold my hands up. But I don't think there's ever been this kind of opportunity, which is being alone in a bookshop and with the time to make sure that your book really gets noticed. So now we're each going to build a little display so that customers can discover our books and books we love. So I think I'm going to pick on Kathy first. You brought some swag with you. Do you want to get going?
Yeah, well, I can't, because I got here a little bit early. I've set it up. And
let's see.
Also, because amazing Patrick and Polly had given me, I'm going to spin you around in the hope of being able to show you this, have given me the prime spot of there's the front door and here's the display.
Oh my God, straight in.
Yes. Pile of books.
She's so good at those flat lay type things.
Nice.
She's really good at that. Damn it.
So shall I talk you round?
Yeah. Talk us through it.
So I went for the theme of connecting with nature because my book, which I have put shamelessly front and center, is about the seasons and about cooking with what you've grown, or at least what's seasonally available and within the landscape that you're in. So I thought I'd pick some other books and some other goodies that went with that. So I raided the Chard patch because I thought some greenery would be nice.
I was hoping you might do that.
And I've brought some of my most necessary, maybe not those, but I do like my seed labels, but these are my two most necessary gardening ingredients: a little dibber so that I can so that I can get the seeds in the ground, and then my measuring stick so that I know how far apart everything needs to be.
Oh, that's beautiful.
But then, so book-wise, I've gone for, obviously there's some cookbooks in there, but there's a bit of fiction and a bit of non-fiction as well. So my cookbooks are a selection of ones that I go to very regularly. So this is one from the team at Great Dixter, which is an incredible garden. And this book's super beautiful.
I like that.
And then this is by the lovely Gil Mellor. This is his latest book. So he used to work he still does work at River Cottage. And this is a vegetarian book of his, Root, Stem, Leaf, Flower, which is an absolute cracker. And then brand new, out only last week, I just love the cover of this. This is Herb, which is by Mark Diacono, who also used to work at River Cottage. There's a theme. And
I've got his book, Sour. It's so good. He's so good.
He's so interesting that he manages to take what seem like quite niche things. You'd think a whole cookbook about herbs or a whole cookbook about sour flavors, and makes them really engaging. Then I've got, also in non-fiction, I've not read this book, but it just looked so beautiful. A Garden from 100 Packets of Seeds. And I think there's so much nonsense talked about growing your own and growing a garden and how complicated it is, that I loved that idea. And it's beautiful. And then this is a favourite of mine, James Rebank's English Pastoral.
Yes.
It's a lovely book about farming, sheep farming in the Yorkshire. Well, yes, in the north, Yorkshire and the Dales and things, and the Peak District. Sorry, and it's very evocative, but it's also really informative. And then, because I'm now into fiction, now I've actually grown up and can read in whole sentences, I loved Hamnet anyway.
Yeah.
But I thought the sense of place, which I think is mostly created by one of the characters, Agnes's use of herbs and flowers and her sense of understanding the seasons and the almost slight witchcraft that goes with that, is really evocative and adds so much to the book. So those were mine, and obviously mine in the front and in the centre, like we all
Pride of place, as it should be. That's such a beautiful selection, and I agree about Hamnet. There is such a strong sense of nature in that, with her wanting to go back to the forest all the time to give birth and things. And I think that ties in beautifully.
Good.
Lovely.
I feel very calm just having looked at those.
It's
I feel
zen.
soothed.
Gorgeous. So Marianne, I mean, that's quite a lot to follow, and I'm already embarrassed about the messiness of my own display. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to start by saying mine is not as good because I did this event with 4 minutes notice. So
to be fair, you did not have much time.
So here's my table. Don't know how well you can see that. My tech support is holding up. And there's my prop. That's the Oscar that I bought from eBay, which I use in my events because so my books obviously are about fun and fame and jollity, and so I that's it. That is my one prop. It's not a great Instagram
Lovely prop
sensation, but I did my best. But on the table, I've chosen books that are fun because I think it's so well. And
we need fun.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's so much pressure on kids. Oh, you've got to be reading. Oh, you should read this. And I think books that are instantly appealing and rewarding and jolly and that kids want to return to, that's what I'm all about. And so on my table, what have I got here? I've got series of unfortunate events, which I think people are probably quite familiar with now because of the Netflix series. But the books are glorious. They are so compulsively readable. They're brilliantly plotted and they're so snarky and dry and funny. I've got, this is Witch Glitch. I don't think this is the latest one, but Chevelle Pounder's books. She's also done the Bad Mermaid series. Funny, fashionable, silly, glorious, lots of danger. Just, I love them completely. Can you see how gorgeous that is? Look at that. What child would not want to dive and read and read and read after lights out? I picked up Isadora Moon. My daughter loves Isadora Moon. And Isadora Moon books, they're brilliant because they're really good as sort of first chapter books for kids who are just getting to grips with reading on their own. They've just moved beyond picture books. Can you see? Look at those illustrations, and look how lovely they are for little hands, and they're gentle and they're sweet. Love them to bits. I've got, what have I got? I've got Piers's books, standing in for Piers Torday, and very nicely. Look,
I know. Hello, Piers. He's got a shout out.
Piers is a wonderful writer. Oh my goodness, you must read Piers's books. Have the tissues ready. My goodness. I
have not forgiven him for their made in a castle.
Yeah, goodness. And also, again, so relevant. They're kind of ecological message of them, and they connect so well. Kids wanting to know what to do, wanting to kind of connect with the natural world around them. And Piers is so good on that, I think. So there's two. What else have I got? I've got Sam Wu is Not Afraid of Spiders. Love the Sam Wu books. Let's open it by Katie and Kevin Sang. Can you see there's brilliant illustrations in there? Again, even the most reluctant reader of a child, they won't be able to help reading this. Just leave this lying around. Goodness me. I mean, I could go on for hours, but I probably shouldn't do that. But, oh, what glories.
I just want you to do one more thing, and
Yeah.
that is show us your books one more time, because I see them in the mix.
Well, as in, shall I, hang on, I'm going to try and do this without breaking the phone, which is not my phone. Can you see those?
Yeah, I love Ellie Mae.
There we go.
Ellie Mae and her cardigan.
Ellie Mae and her cardigan, Ellie Mae with her little bag. And there at the front, Accidental Superstar, and there's Katie Cox on her phone, and Katie with a backstage pass.
Finding fame.
Finding fame.
Covers.
Fun. So important that it's fun. There we go.
Thank you so much. Now it's my turn, and my display is really messy because I don't have Kathy's touch, but also I just want to kind of say that the theme of mine kind of lends itself to messiness. Now, can you see that? Because I have got a conceit to my display, which is, it's a scene from the book, from Saving Missy, my book, where Missy, who's initially very lonely, is invited to a pub quiz. And so what I've done is I've set up the pub quiz table. So you have Denzel's beer here, and you have water for Sylvie, who takes it very seriously. And you have an empty wine glass for Missy, who doesn't take it seriously at all and is busy drinking. And then you have a dog lead for Bob, and a packet of crisps, which she feeds to Bob. And then we have the actual quiz answer sheet from the dogs round. If you read the book, this is a very important round because Missy gets the last answer correct. And that's like a big moment for her. So that is my my kind of conceit, that this is a moment that stops Missy's loneliness. And the theme of my display is Eleanor Rigby's Lonely or Outcast Women. So I've got 4 copies of Missy, like in a pile, as is right for any debut author. And then I also have a selection, which I'll go through very quickly, of just kind of interesting, lonely, outcast women for various reasons. So, like, as an obvious first choice, you've got Eleanor Oliphant, not only Eleanor Rigby, Eleanor Oliphant, but, you know, she's kind of the ultimate lonely, outcast woman with her bottle of vodka. And then I've got Esther Greenwood in The Bell Jar, an absolute classic, outcast for kind of different reasons. And then sort of like Missy, I've got Olive again, Olive Kitteridge, which has been hugely successful, and another kind of elderly protagonist. Another very successful book, very much read, is Where the Crawdad Sings. But I thought, is it Kaya? The central character in that is very, very isolated, if nothing else. So I thought that she kind of qualified. And then this is a bit of a left field choice, 3 Women by Lisa Taddeo. I love this book. It's extremely intense. It's about the sex lives of 3 women. And what I found about them is they're quite extreme and unusual. And what struck me that all 3 women have in common is the kind of isolation and fragility and vulnerability of all 3 of them. So I thought, for a different reason, they kind of have a lonely quality to them. And then finally, I wanted to choose a children's book, and I've chosen The Secret Garden.
Oh, yes.
Because, I mean, she's not a woman, she's only a child. I was very struck when I read this book that how awful her predicament is and how lightly it's sketched over, because Mary is in India and her entire family dies and nobody really notices her. She just sort of gets left on her own with no family. Everybody's dead, and then she just gets bunged into this house in the middle of England and essentially left to her own devices. And I think it's a horrific case of child neglect. And incredibly sad. And then she's left to kind of clear up for everybody else. And so that was my final choice. And, you know, that's my Eleanor Rigby's theme.
Brilliant.
It's like a museum exhibit. It's incredible.
Well, it's a messy museum exhibit. I feel a bit embarrassed because Kathy's is so beautifully arranged and I just sort of shoved everything on a table. But, you know, that's how it would be in a pub. So it's very authentic. It's authentic. Now, we've done what we came here to do. But before we shut up shop, there are time for a couple of questions from viewers. So if anybody has a book they want us to find, let us know. If there's something you'd like to recommend for people to buy that's in stock at the moment, then let us know. Or maybe you'd like to give a shout out to your own book. We will shout about it. We've had a couple of questions. George has asked, which book would you like your book to be next to in a shop? I'll go first because I do actually know what the answer to this is, because we've all been sharing photos of our books in bookshops, all us authors, so that we can get to see each other's books in shops. And somebody sent me a picture of my book in a window, and it was next to, hang on, where is it? I think I've got it somewhere. It was next to Michelle Obama, Becoming. And I was like, yeah, I'll take that. That's not bad. So which book would you like your book to be next to?
Well, I can see from where I am, let me flip you around, a really convenient, slightly distracted by Bob, again, a really convenient gap in one of their lovely displays.
Oh,
here.
Put it there now.
Yeah, which I think would be quite nice here, because it's amongst lots of books about urban farming and staying wild and huts, shepherds' huts and things. But it's also, it could go very nicely next to Anna Jones's top 10 best-selling book. And this beautiful thing by Yasmin Khan, Ripe Figs, which has just come out, and then conveniently next to Raymond Blanc's latest book. So I would be very happy with that empty slot there. In fact, I'm going to do it now.
Do it. Put it there. Yes.
There we go. That'll do nicely.
Perfectly.
Nice. As though it was always there.
Exactly. So
Marianne, who would you like your book next to? Who do you want?
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be next to this book because this is a picture book and my books are not picture books. But can we put it next to What We'll Build by Oliver Jeffers?
Oh, I love him.
Isn't it gorgeous?
Yes, you can go next to him.
So this is a book that he wrote just after his daughter was born. And it's, there we go, Plans for Our Future Together. Oh. And he illustrates, look at that. And gosh, even opening the first spread makes me want to
Look at that. Oh God, no, don't.
What should we build, you and I?
Oh, I haven't got the emotional bandwidth.
And there's his hands. And it's all about making things together, for putting things together. Look, there they are. There they are. And it's about building the world around you, building a house to keep safe, staying against the baddies, but also bringing the baddies into your house and loving them. And it's just about the future. And oh my goodness, imagine having my books next to that. And then I've also got the book that it's more likely actually to be next to. It's a book that's almost got the same title as mine. The Accidental Rock Star.
But a boy.
Actually, I love Tom McLaughlin. He's so funny. He's so jolly. And he's got a whole series of accidental books, The Accidental Prime Minister, The Accidental President. And it's just such a good conceit, isn't it? I think a kid who steps into somebody else's life. So yeah, right. Those are my two.
So somebody said that they saw my book next to Graham Norton's in Cambridge, which I will absolutely take. I assume that's Home Stretch. They haven't said, but I assume it's Home Stretch, which sounds marvellous and has been marvellously reviewed. So I'll absolutely take that. Somebody's asking, and I think this will be to you, Marianne, do you have Melt by Ellie Fountain in children's?
I'll go and have a look.
And while you do that, there's a question from Amelia. Kathy, do you take all your own photos?
I do, yes. Thank you for asking, Amelia. Yes, and it was an absolute joy to. I had some help with the cookbook because it was the first one I'd shot for myself. But yes, I take all my own ones, including the ones in the patch.
That is pretty impressive.
Thanks. It's really good fun. It's very hungry making.
Yes, I'm not surprised.
Yes.
Marianne is currently looking for, what was it?
I'll find it.
Oh, I bet it's in there somewhere. It must be.
Yes, I'm sure they could get it in for you.
Bob,
Pickle Pecker's website. Drop them an email. They'll get it.
Bob is in the doorway of Jaffa and Neil, and I'm loving him.
Isn't he a star?
One last question from the audience. Philip asked, which book in the shop do you wish you'd written?
Oh, that's a great question.
It's such a good question.
I'm going to go first with that because it's right next to me. Like, not just because it's beautifully written, but also because it's done really well and won everything. Is that really bad? I'm just going to go with that. I mean, I don't see how I could have written it, but you know, and I've also brought down the entire display.
I've got one here that would be mine, and really I'd like the whole series, please. So this is a series of cookbooks by Rukmini Iyer. And she's one of those incredible food writers that nobody's ever heard of and is always a top 10 bestseller. She's written a whole series of these of these roasting tin books, and they are inventive and creative and accessible and total blockbusters. And when you say Rukmini Iyer, people go, sorry, who? And everyone has this book, or one of the 3 or 4 that she's written. She's got a new one out in the summer, or next week, I think, called about easy barbecue tin dishes. And so I wish I'd had that idea, because that
is a clever idea. Marianne seems to be still running around the shop like Annika Rice.
I found so many. Oh, but look what I've just found for you, Beth. I found The Secret Garden.
Oh, another edition of The Secret Garden, one of my faves.
So I've got 3 that I'd like to have written. I would like to have written, I'd be okay with any of these.
Right.
Peter Pan.
That's a good one.
I would be well up for writing Peter Pan. If not, I'll take on Northern Lights. That would be cool.
That'll do, yeah.
That would be cool. Oh, good.
It's quite good, isn't it? It's done quite well, that.
But you know what? Of all of them, I would like to have written the Mog books.
Oh, yes.
I know we're back to Judith Kerr again. So maybe
she's come out well out of this. Quite right.
But they are so perfect. And they're so idiosyncratic. I mean, you think about a writer's voice, no one but her could have written these. Yeah. Mog, I feel like I know Mog. I feel like I know Mog absolutely intimately, even though she's not a real cat, but I know her better than actual cats that I've known.
But if you wrote them, you could make Mog not die, which would be better.
I can't read Goodbye Mog. And I thought, because we had to have our cat put down a year ago, and I thought, what I'll do is I'll get Goodbye Mog and I'll read it with my children, and you know that will. And then I got Goodbye Mog and I started reading it, and I had to just, again, another book just went quietly into the freezer because I couldn't do it.
There's a Shirley Hughes book about Alfie where the Smokey dies, and I couldn't cope with that either. It's awful.
Yeah.
Right, so we're going to have to wrap up and get out of here. But before we go, what I asked us to do beforehand was we're going to get each other in a kind of 3-way book buy. We're getting each other a little book as a parting gift. Because if you're in a bookshop, you buy a book, and you often buy a book as a present. So I am choosing for Marianne.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. What I've chosen is this, The Panic Is by Nell Frizzle. And the reason I've chosen it, I have to confess here, you mentioned that you liked her on Twitter. So
she's great, and she's got an amazing podcast.
Yeah,
Love it.
and I've seen her on Twitter and I think she's great as well. So I thought this would be a nice choice for you. So
Thank you.
That's going to wing its way somehow, either via me or Chrissy, to your door.
Awesome.
Happy reading.
I've got one for each of you. I've got one for each of you.
Oh, right.
But then you have to swap. Is that okay? I don't know how we're going to do
This
this.
is such a bold play with the format.
So when I'm going to hold them up to you at the same time. Oh, actually, no, I'll do this one first. So this is a little book of essays by Catherine Rundell.
I love Catherine Rundell.
Yes, and it's called Why You Should Read Children's Books, Even Though You Are So Old and Wise. And I thought, in case either of you is a bit hesitant about reading a children's book for yourself rather than to a child, this will school you. It's gorgeous, 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 luscious book. And it brings you back to that sense of childlike wonder that I think we could all do with a bit more of. Strip us of our cynicism and of our doom scrolling and open up the world again and see it freshly and
brilliant.
And Catherine's writing really does that. And when you've finished reading this and you are aflame with the desire to read a children's book, you can read her book, The Wolf Wilder, which is why I needed to swap.
I'm loving the influx of Catherine Rundell. It's great.
Lots of Catherine Rundell. And I picked this one in particular. So it's about a girl who lives, I think it's in Russia. Yes, it's in Russia. And I haven't read it for a couple of years. But she lives in Russia, and her job, she and her mother, they rewild tame wolves.
Okay.
And it's got, I think, the best opening line of any book that I can think of. Let's see if I've remembered it correctly. I'm opening this book. I haven't looked at it for a couple of years. Here we go. Once upon a time, 100 years ago, there was a dark and stormy girl.
I see what she did there.
Yeah,
that's very clever. I'm happy with those choices.
Yeah,
hang on, those are technically for Kathy, who's then going to pass them on to me.
Okay.
And
Brilliant.
Using for me.
Okay. I'm really pleased about those choices as well, Marianne, because I don't have children, so I always feel like a bit of a wally going and buying children's books and then having myself. So I'm very glad that you're opening me up to that. So I'm here in the cookery section. And Beth, I've picked a cookery book for you, but I've picked two, but they sit together. So I'm going to get you the Nigel Slater's Green Feasts.
Adore Nigel Slater.
Which come as a spring, summer and an autumn, winter. So they're super seasonal. They are largely, in fact, I think they're exclusively vegetarian. But as ever with Nigel Slater, they are just lovely, easy, big flavors, beautiful pictures, exquisitely written. I mean,
he's that is
the god.
I love it. And the gold.
Is now a good time for my Nigel Slater anecdote, Kathy?
There's always a good time for a Nigel Slater anecdote.
Oh, okay. Well, very quickly. I was learning to drive, and I was driving down a road near my house and faffing, and another car was coming the other way, and I freaked out because there wasn't space for both of us. And the dude stopped and let me kind of reverse really slowly, and the person in the other car was Nigel Slater. So lovely man.
Into Nigel Slater.
That's
my very gentle about it. Probably make you a soup. Thank you, and we've all got presents to go home to tonight, so that's really lovely. That's all we've got time for because it's 8 o'clock. So I just want to say a huge thank you to the wonderful bookshops who've hosted us tonight. That's Book Bar, Jaffa and Neil, and at the last minute saving the day, Pickled Pepper, Stephen Ermy. Thank you. You make us very happy. Please visit these shops.
Yes.
Browse their wonderful stock.
Yes.
See if you can spot our displays or if they've been hastily cleared up and swept away. And thank you to the audience for tuning in. Please look at the recommendations that we've made and consider buying them. Consider buying our books. And in general, #choose bookshops. So that's goodbye from me and goodbye from Kathy.
Bye.
And Marianne.